At the outset, I would like to offer my humble pranams to Bhagavan Baba, whose grace alone is making it possible for me to broadcast this series over Radio Sai. Loving Sai Ram and greetings from Prashanti Nilayam. Today, I shall be starting on the Kishkinda Kandam. The Kishkinda Kandam relates largely to events that take place in Kishkinda, which is the kingdom of the Vanaras. As I mentioned earlier, acting on the suggestion of the monster Kabanda, Rama goes in search of the Vanara Sugriva, and we pick up the story from where the princess in exile went looking for Sugriva. Greatly uplifted by the meeting with Sabari, Rama and Lakshmana proceeded towards the Pampa lake, admiring every bit of the wonderful scenery on the way. Drawing attention to nature's glory, Rama at one point said, "Lakshmana, this Pampa lake looks absolutely charming and enchanting. Stricken though I am by grief, for a moment I am able to forget myself, captivated by the beauty of the forest in which we presently are. Everything around here is so soothing. The calm and placid waters of the lake, the majestic and stately trees, and the rich variety of flowers. But then, these very scenes also remind me of Sita, with whom I often used to explore the woodland near our ashram back in Janasthana. Where on earth is Sita? How can I go back without her? I mean, would I be able to face King Janaka if he were to ask me, 'Where is Sita? You have come back from exile without her. What happened to her?' Playing once more the role of the comforter, Lakshmana responded gently, 'Dear brother, please do not grieve. This is the time to have fortitude and look ahead. To me, you have always been the personification of perfect equanimity. Please return to that state, for that state alone is natural to you.' Spoken as they were with deep reverence and intense love, Lakshmana's prayer had the desired effect, and soon Rama became calm and walked silently behind Lakshmana, who now led the way. And as the two brothers approached Mount Rishyamukha, Sugriva, who had made that his abode, seeking to hide himself from his powerful brother Vali, spotted the royal princess walking towards his hideout. Frightened that perhaps these two were agents of Vali looking out for him, Sugriva, along with the handful of Vanaras who acted as his counselors, moved away from the mountain slope where they were to the very top. Becoming quite restless, Sugriva now began to openly express his concern and fear that the two strangers heading their way had in fact been sent by Vali, disguised as ascetics, in order not to arouse the suspicions. That was when Hanuman, one of the principal counselors, spoke up and said, "This place where we now are cannot ever be approached by Vali or his henchmen, whoever they be. Moreover, it's not correct to jump to a conclusion without a proper inquiry. It is the duty of a king to investigate thoroughly before passing any judgment or expressing any opinion, and that precisely is what I recommend at this juncture." Accepting the suggestion, Sugriva replied, "Hanuman, there is merit in what you are saying. Yes, we must discreetly find out who these strangers are that have come to this remote place where we hardly ever see any visitors. You being very clever and most capable, I think it would be best if you quietly approach these strangers without arousing any suspicion in them. Find out who they are and what brings them here. In addition to listening to what they have to say, pay particular attention to their manner of speaking, the precise words they use, their gestures, their tone, their facial expressions, etc. For often these tell us far more than words do. Right now, we do not know for sure whether these two people are friend or foe. They could be either. Without prejudice, examine skillfully, make a careful assessment, and then report back to me without much delay. This is the mission I entrust to you, confident that you would accomplish it with both tact as well as intelligence. Bowing to Sugriva and saying, "So be it," Hanuman left immediately to meet Rama and Lakshmana to learn more about them and why they had come there. Rama and Lakshmana were still quite some distance away while Sugriva was sharing his thoughts with Hanuman. Having received instructions, Hanuman, wanting to reach the princess as quickly as possible, leapt in an instant from the top of the Rishyamukha mountain to the vicinity of where the two brothers were. Having arrived close, Hanuman next transformed himself from his natural monkey form to that of a recluse. After adopting this disguise, he then approached Rama and Lakshmana, fell at their feet and prostrated. After offering salutations as prescribed in the scriptures, Hanuman, also variously known as Maruti and Anjaneya, said, speaking in a soft voice, "May I know who you two are? There is clearly something very exceptional about both of you. Your appearance is that of ascetics, and yet you both are carrying bows and arrows which ascetics do not. More importantly, there is an indescribable effulgence around you both that is making this entire neighborhood glow." Hanuman paused, waiting for a response, and when there was none, he resumed, "Please, may I know why you are not answering me? Perhaps it is because I did not introduce myself. I have been sent by the pious Sugriva, the leader of the Vanaras. Sugriva lives on the yonder mountain, having been banished there by his powerful elder brother Vali. My name is Hanuman. I am the son of the wind god, and I too am a Vanara. However, right now, in order to approach you and learn about you, I have temporarily assumed the form of an ascetic. At least now, may I know something about you two and why you are here?" Neither Rama or Lakshmana replied to Hanuman. Instead, Rama turned to Lakshmana and said, "Brother, do you realize that the one who spoke to us just now is a minister of the very Sugriva whom we are in search of? Clearly, this person knows how to choose his words, a skill that comes only from a deep study and knowledge of the Rig Veda. Indeed, he appears to have mastered the Samaveda and the Yajur Veda as well. Not only is his speech grammatically correct, but also in chaste Sanskrit. Further, while the throat and the lips articulate the words, the voice itself comes from the navel, as is required in traditional Vedic chanting. It seems to me that when a sovereign has such a noble envoy, the ventures of the monarch himself are bound to be carefully planned and executed as to achieve sure success. Taking all these factors into account, I would like you to respond to this messenger sweetly and appropriately." Rising to the occasion, Lakshmana, who was equally skilled in the art of speaking and conversation, responded by saying, "O learned Vanara, the virtues of Sugriva are already known to us. In fact, we are actually looking for him. Now that you know why we are here, we leave it to you to suggest how we should proceed further in our quest." Lakshmana's measured response filled Hanuman with joy, because it now seemed possible that his master Sugriva might undertake missions in the cause of these radiant visitors, giving thereby a chance for him to serve Rama and Lakshmana. Bowing respectfully to Rama, Hanuman responded, "It would be my privilege and blessing to conduct you both to the presence of Sugriva. But before I do that, may I respectfully inquire about the exact nature of your mission?" Though the question was addressed to Rama, it was Lakshmana who again responded. After first identifying Rama and himself as the sons of Dasaratha, Lakshmana narrated briefly the circumstances leading to their going on exile, the abduction of Sita, and the subsequent hint given by Kabanda about seeking help from Sugriva. Lakshmana then added, "Before leaving for the forest to commence his exile, Rama gave away all his wealth and property as charity. He who always helped one and all without distinction is now in the position of seeking help himself. Such is the irony of fate. There is no king on earth whom Rama's virtuous father Dasaratha has not helped at one time or the other. That being the case, I think it would be in the fitness of things for Sugriva to come to the assistance of Rama, who has never before sought anything from anybody, but is presently placed in a situation where he is compelled to." Hanuman noticed that as Lakshmana spoke, tears flowed non-stop from his eyes. Deeply moved, Hanuman responded with much humility, "It is our supreme fortune that Sugriva and I have been blessed to be of service to noble souls like you, who have achieved perfect sense and mind control. Sugriva lives on yonder mountain peak because that is a place where his evil brother Vali cannot ever enter, thanks to a curse laid upon him. May I respectfully suggest that all three of us proceed there forthwith without any delay?" Lakshmana then turned to Rama and said, "Brother, I gather from the son of wind god, for his part Sugriva needs our help. Thus it appears that our meeting comes at the right time. Let us therefore allow Hanuman to take us to his master Sugriva." When Rama assented, Hanuman reverted to his normal form as a Vanara, assumed an appropriate size, and, carrying the two brothers on his back and shoulders, reached the peak of Rishyamukha in one big leap. After Rama and Lakshmana got down from his back, Hanuman said to Sugriva, "I have brought with me the two persons whom you asked me to meet and find out why they are here. Those tasks I have duly performed, and learning that they wish to meet you, I have conducted them here. But first, allow me please to introduce them to you. Here is Rama, the son of Dasaratha of the famed Ikshvaku dynasty and the emperor of the Kosala kingdom with its capital at Ayodhya. Standing by the side of Rama is his younger brother Lakshmana. Princes though they are, you see them in the attire of ascetics because of a long and sad story." Hanuman then went on to narrate the full story of Rama, his exile, the subsequent abduction of Sita, and how the two brothers were guided to Sugriva by Kabanda. Hanuman concluded, "I request you, O Sugriva, to accept the friendship of Rama and Lakshmana, who are the very embodiments of all virtues, Sathya and Dharma in particular, and offer them all assistance they might need and seek from you." Hearing the submission of Hanuman, Sugriva stood up, went near Rama, bowed to him, and said in a most respectful tone, "Lord, I have heard carefully all that Hanuman has just said. It is an indescribable honor for me, a mere Vanara, to be approached by such an exalted one as yourself, seeking friendship and assistance. With deep humility, I extend my hand of friendship. Please be so gracious as to accept it, for it would both honor as well as redeem me." So saying, Sugriva stretched his hand towards Rama. Extremely pleased to hear Sugriva's words, Rama then extended his own hand and pressed it against that of Sugriva. Meanwhile, by way of formalizing this friendship, Hanuman produced a flame by rubbing 2 dried pieces of wood, using which he then started a ceremonial fire. After duly worshipping the fire, Hanuman then humbly requested both Rama and Sugriva to do the same, and thereafter go round the fire 3 times in a clockwise direction by way of affirming their friendship with the sacred fire as the witness. The rituals concluded, Sugriva broke the branch of a tree, placed it on the ground to serve as a mat, and then invited Rama to sit down on it along with him. Hanuman extended a similar courtesy to Lakshmana by offering the blossomed branch of a sandalwood tree. Having taken their seat, for a moment everyone was silent, lost in the bliss of a newly formed alliance. Addressing Rama, Sugriva then said, "Lord, in many respects, my fate is similar to yours. You have been exiled, and so have I. While you went on exile on the command of your father, I was literally driven out by my elder brother, the powerful Vali. You lost your wife, who was abducted by Ravana. In my case, my wife was snatched from me by my own brother. Vali is mighty and powerful, and I live in constant dread of him. Indeed, that is why I have hidden myself in this rather remote spot. Helpless as I am, I submit myself entirely to you, seeking your total protection. You alone can save me, and save me you must. That's all I have to say." Responding to this plea in a most comforting tone, Rama replied, "Sugriva, from this day onwards, set aside all your worries. Indeed, before sunset, your problems would come to an end, because Vali would be struck down during the course of this very day. Now that I am here, have no fear." It is said that even as this conversation was going on, in faraway Lanka, the left eyelid of both Sita and Ravana throbbed. According to tradition, if a lady experiences such a throbbing, then it means a good omen, whereas for a male, the opposite is the case. It would appear that destiny was giving advance intimation of events to come to both Sita and to Ravana. Feeling greatly reassured, Sugriva now turned to Rama's own difficulty and said, "Rama, I gather from Hanuman that it is Ravana who, after killing Jatayu, has carried away Sita. Around the time the abduction took place, I was here in this very spot with some of my trusted counselors, and we saw above us an airborne chariot in which there was a Rakshasa and a lady who was repeatedly crying out, 'Rama, save me! Lakshmana, save me!' At that time, I could not make out what was happening. However, the scene that we witnessed then acquires significance now. I should add that even as the chariot was flying directly above us, the lady dropped a bundle which we later found, and it contained jewels. Presently, I shall bring that bundle. You can then take a look at those jewels and see if they belong to Sita." Disappearing into a deep mountain cavern, Sugriva came out a little later carrying a bundle. Placing it before Rama, he opened it to reveal several sparkling jewels. And even as he beheld them, Rama's eyes began to fill with tears. Turning to Lakshmana, who was by his side, and looking closely at the jewels, Rama said, "Lakshmana, these do appear to be Sita's jewels. Can you recognize any of them?" In a choked voice, Lakshmana replied, "Brother, what can I say? Honestly, I cannot recognize either the armlets or the earrings, for I never saw them. For me, Sita was Mother Supreme, and I never looked her in the face. I always spoke to her with my head bowed, and therefore saw only her feet and of course the anklets she wore. Those I surely recognized in the bundle before us, based on which I would say that these jewels do belong to Mother Sita. When Lakshmana finished, Rama turned to Sugriva and said, O Lord of the brave Vanaras, hearing your story, I am filled with both sadness and fury. It also reminds me of dear Sita, and I boil when I think of the evil Rakshasa who abducted Sita. One thing is certain, Ravana shall not escape, and indeed he cannot escape. Death awaits him, and without any doubt, it shall be from my hands. Palms joined in humble supplication. Sugriva then responded to Rama, saying, Lord, I am unworthy of giving you any advice, but in my capacity as a friend, I beseech you not to grieve or yield to emotions. There is a great mission ahead of us, and your dynamic leadership and wise counsel would be needed at all times. Please regain your calm, for that alone would fill all of us with the courage and enthusiasm that we would need in abundant measure. Touched by the fervent appeal of Sugriva, Rama quickly regained his composure and said, Sugriva, you have truly spoken like a friend. I have regained my normalcy, and now I would like to know precisely what is it I should do in respect of Vali. I have already assured you that he would be eliminated before the sun goes down this evening. However, I must be apprised of all the details I need to know before I can fulfill my promise. Delighted by the assurance of support, Sugriva replied, Rama, to have you as my friend is a clear sign of God's unbounded grace. I am supremely confident that our friendship, sworn with the fire as witness, would restore to me all that I had lost, and also give me the strength and power to fulfill the promise that I have made to you. Rama acknowledged by nodding his head and saying softly, So be it. Feeling uplifted, Sugriva continued, Rama, I feel so much better now. It has been miserable living here in hiding, having lost both my kingdom and my spouse to my elder brother Vali. However, thanks to the assurance given by you, it looks like my darkest days would soon be behind me. Reiterating his support, Rama then said, Fear not, for your troubles would soon be over, and Vali shall indeed be got rid of with a single arrow. But meanwhile, tell me more about how exactly you came to be in this sorry state. Thereupon, Sugriva began narrating in detail his story. It all started like this. The Vanara fugitive began. My father had two sons, Vali and myself, Vali being the elder one. Vali was mighty and extremely powerful and struck terror in the hearts of his foes. My father adored him very much, and I too looked upon him as a great hero. When my father died, Vali automatically became the king of Kishkinda. I must say that Vali ruled justly, and admiring him as I did, I served him as an obedient and loyal servant. Trouble began when deep rivalry erupted between Vali and Mayavi, the elder son of the demon Maya, on account of a competition for the attention of a woman. Mayavi had another son named Dundubi, who was younger to Mayavi and just as notorious. The rivalry between Vali and Mayavi became so intense that suddenly one night, Mayavi appeared at the palace gate and challenged Vali to a duel. All of us, including Vali, heard the blood-curdling cries of Mayavi. We did our best to prevent Vali from going out to fight with the demon, especially as the challenge was very sudden and Vali was least prepared. However, brushing aside all of us, Vali rushed out, and I faithfully followed him. The moon was just rising, and there was some illumination, though not much. As Vali moved towards Mayavi, the latter suddenly disappeared. When Vali and I went to that spot, we discovered there was a patch of land covered lightly with grass, below which was a deep cavern. Turning to me, Vali said, "It looks like Mayavi has gone underground via this opening. You stay right here and wait for me, while I go down and take care of that fellow. You must promise that you would not move till I return. Have no doubt that I will be victorious and return. All you have to do is just wait for me." So saying, Vali entered the deep hole and soon vanished from my view. Sugriva continued, "I waited, not just for a few hours or even a few days, but for over 1 full year. Feeling totally lost, I then began to fear the worst and started wondering whether, mighty though he was, Vali had been slain by Mayavi. And even as I was beginning to have this apprehension, blood mixed with foam started coming up from below through the hole. To make matters worse, I heard loud cries, which I assumed were shouts of victory coming from Mayavi. In contrast to that, I could not hear any sounds that I could positively identify with Vali. I then concluded, wrongly as it turned out later, that Vali had indeed been killed. Wanting to trap and confine the villain Mayavi forever, I picked up a huge boulder about the size of a small hill and used it to block the entrance to the underground hole. That was not all. I mourned the death of Vali by offering water to the spirit of the deceased, after which I returned to Kishkinda. With Vali gone, as we then believed, the kingdom had to have a new ruler. The ministers of the kingdom deliberated and decided that being the younger brother, I should be installed as the new king. I was not too keen, but had to agree. Some time after all this happened, Vali suddenly showed up in Kishkinda. Shocked to learn that I was now the king, he flew into an uncontrollable rage and stormed into the palace ready to tear me apart. For me, this was a totally unexpected turn of events. I was deeply sorry I had misjudged the outcome of the mighty battle between Vali and Mayavi. At the same time, I was glad that my brother was alive and had vanquished his enemy. When Vali entered the palace, I went forward to greet him, bowed to him most reverentially, and offered my salutations. However, Vali was in no mood to notice all this. Trying my best to remain unaffected by Vali's angry mood, I said to him most humbly, "Dear brother, you may not believe it, but I am indeed very glad to see you. I waited most patiently for one long near the entrance to the cavern through which you went looking for Mayavi. And when at the end of that long wait I saw blood and foam swelling up through the hole, I was truly alarmed. I honestly thought that Mayavi had got the better of you. Wanting to obstruct him and save the kingdom, I blocked the hole with a huge boulder and returned to Kishkinda after performing all the rites due to departed souls. With a heavy heart, I conveyed to the members of the court what I believed was the outcome of the protracted battle between you and Mayavi. Everyone was saddened by the news I brought, and after due homage was paid to your memory, the ministers decided that I should henceforth take care of the kingdom. Now that by God's grace you are back safe, sound and victorious, I surrender to you this very minute the reins of the kingdom that I tried my best to rule justly during your absence. I know you have every reason to be angry with me, but I do hope you would understand the circumstances and forgive me for a mistake I had committed unintentionally. I appeal to you to be magnanimous and not punish me, because I did not do anything wantonly or with evil intentions." Sugriva paused, noticed that Rama was keenly absorbing the details he was giving, and feeling satisfied continued. "When I finished, Wali looked at me with deep scorn, utter disdain, and supreme contempt, totally disinclined to believe one word of what I said. To the ministers, who were equally stunned by the sudden and unexpected return of Wali, he said, "Do you believe this treacherous so-called brother of mine? I shall tell you what exactly happened. Yes, it is true I did not emerge from the subterranean cavern for 1 whole year. However, that was because all that time was spent in searching for that evil demon Mayavi. Eventually, I found him, and the moment I found him, I got rid of not only him, but all his cronies as well. That is why so much blood and foam swelled up and came out of the hole at the top. That blood also flooded the cave, making it difficult for me to retrace my path. It took me a long time to wade through, and eventually I did manage to come up to the vertical opening leading to the ground above. And what did I find then? I found that the top of the hole was completely closed with a huge boulder. I was quite exhausted at that time and could not move that boulder. I then called out to Sugriva, not once but repeatedly and over an extended period, but there was absolutely no response. I then rested for a long time till I regained enough strength to push that mountainous boulder away and come out. And when I did so, I was astonished to see that Sugriva was nowhere to be seen, although I had made him promise to me that he would wait for me. Now, why did he not keep his promise? His intentions should be obvious. Using my protracted absence as an excuse, he prevented me from returning by blocking that hole with the biggest boulder he could find so that he could grab what did not belong to him. As for all this drama and false disclaimers, I don't believe a single word of his. Rama, that is how Wali damned me even though I was innocent." Sugriva continued. After pouring out his feeling to the ministers, Wali added that though he would have loved to kill me, he would be content to merely banish me. However, he totally dispossessed me, grabbed my wife, and kicked me out with just a single piece of cloth to wear. I left the palace immediately and rushed to this remote mountain Rishyamukha because Wali cannot ever come here on account of a curse laid upon him by sage Matanga. However, that's a different story. Although Wali cannot reach me here, I live in great fear nevertheless because he can always send agents and get rid of me permanently. That was why when I first saw you two brothers from a distance, I was mortally afraid. Now that you know the full story, I hope you would understand my anxiety as well as my predicament. I think I shall stop here for today, and I do hope that you felt elevated by the narration. I look forward to being with you again next week at the same time. Until then, all the best. With much humility and love, I offer this talk to our beloved Bhagwan. Jai Sai Ram.